I'll be honest with you guys, when I first saw this shoe, I was like, I don't really think I'm interested in that. But then just out of the corner of my eye, I caught Mount Fuji. And of course, Mount Fuji is the biggest mountain in Japan, a volcano no less. And it's famous throughout the world. It's kind of iconic in that way. It's got a massive sort of place at the center of Japanese culture, Japanese society. So it's a really big deal. So I thought, okay, you know, Mount Fuji on a shoe, better have a look at that. I dug into it, found some really interesting details on the shoe. I haven't really looked at the Mocs in any way before, let alone the Moc 3.0, so it's worth looking at the shoe and seeing where it is, where the branding lies in that sort of Japanese theme that runs in one particular place on the shoe, but then throughout the shoe and throughout the upper there's more sort of details of that nature kind of theme as well, and this being an all conditions gear shoe, that kind of makes sense. So without further ado, what we're going to do today is actually get into this and have a look at this shoe, look at the detail on it, do a bit of storytelling about where the detailing comes from. We'll give you a bit of a history of you know, Mount Fuji and things like that, especially talking about this shoe here, which I haven't un-DS'd yet, and that little banknote right there, as well as we get into the Nike ACG Moc 3.0 Mount Fuji. This is the Tokyo Butter 23 Sneaker Channel. Tokyo Butter 23 Sneaker Channel です。毎日アップするので、毎日見てください. And every single day from Tokyo, Japan, I bring in content about upcoming sneaker releases, sneaker news, and sneaker reviews. And today it's the upcoming release of the Nike ACG Moc 3.0 Mount Fuji all conditions gear. It's a great shoe. I was very surprised at the detailing on it and where it was going. I was expecting something else just from the pictures, but then as I dug more into it and learned more about it, I got into it and found out more about it. And one of the things we you know, I'll go straight to the thing that's in the title of this video, and that's all about banknotes here in Japan. So I'll just grab this one right here. In Japan, there's no lower order to money, if you like. So if you think American money, cents and dollars. If you think British money, pence and pound. But there's no smaller denomination here in Japan. There's just yen. So what I'm holding right here, I'll do it this way around. If you don't know what that is, that's a 1,000 yen note. Now, if you're from the UK and you're thinking £1,000, or if you're from America and thinking $1,000, you're like, that's interesting. But 1,000 yen note is actually about $10. Maybe £5 depending on the rate and how far along with Brexit we are. So it's not that big a deal. This is a very common note. It's the smallest note. There's no note smaller than this. There's no 500 yen note, for example. There's 1,000, 5,000 and 10,000, pretty much just 3 notes in circulation. So this is the smallest of those, and the one that's most common, you know, and so I just had one in my wallet. It wasn't something special I had to go looking for. But like I said, you know, earlier, there's Mount Fuji right there on the the 1,000 yen note. Hopefully you're able to see that kind of clearly, because, you know, like I said, it's a big part of Japanese society here, and it's very important to the Japanese, and so much so that it's on their most, you know, widely available banknote. And from that, when Nike were bringing out a shoe that, you know, pays homage to Japan, you know, there's the 1,000 yen note with the Mount Fuji on it as well. But also, like I said, there's these guys right here. I haven't un-DS'd them yet. They still have, you know, the tag on them right here. I think I bought these for my birthday last year, so that's April 2019, and this video is going out August 2020, so it's well over a year later. I do need to un-DS these guys, but it's a beautiful shoe. Some people call it the Obsidian Blue, some people call it the Mount Fuji, some people call it the Tokyo. They call it the Tokyo because on the sole right there you can see that says Tokyo in Japanese letters, and one of my favourite features of the shoe, one of the main reasons why I bought this shoe was because of that outsole, which is a really fine outsole on there, and that's why you would call them the Tokyo. You'd call them the Obsidian Blue because of the colouring of the midsole, and it sort of hits the colour up the top there. But here, and I'll see how close I can get to the camera without blurring out the image, there's Mount Fuji right up there on the tongue. I hope that's visible to you guys at home. So with those two sort of things being said, you know, the fact it's on the note right there, the most common build that's in circulation here in Tokyo, Japan. I've got this previous shoe from a little over a year ago. It's also a Mount Fuji theme. I'm here in Tokyo, Japan, and there's just a lot of reasons why to get into this shoe and talk about the detailing on it and actually bring it to you guys today. So hopefully you'll enjoy that as we take a deeper look at the details on that shoe now that we've gone through sort of the history side of things. Let's get into the actual shoe itself. And we'll start with the upper. Boing, there's the upper right there, and some detail in there. It's very difficult to see from afar. It looks like a sort of plain or slightly textured upper, but when you get closer into it, there's two details on it. One is the sort of variance in the deeper sort of greys. It's almost like a cobalt grey colour going on there, which gives an effect of flora and sort of vegetation and stuff like that. But then as you get lower down towards the midsole area, there are some hits of brown on there as well, which again, it gives a feel, they say it gives a feel of camo. It's not really a camo sneaker, you know, you wouldn't really look at this and say, oh, that's a camo design. It's but it's to give it that feel of camel. That's the point behind that upper on there. And if we say upper, we might as well go up to the main feature on the shoe, which is the only place I know of, as far as I'm right, I hope I'm right, and as far as I know, where Mt Fuji comes into play on the shoe. And this is the only piece of branding that sets it aside from any standard Moc. And that's Mt Fuji up there on the tongue. Again, very similar to these Air Max 95s I've got here, the Mt Fuji crested up on the tongue there. But what they've done on this one instead is they've added three pieces of information. One is they put the name Mt Fuji on. These ones here, they just have Mt Fuji and then in front of that Air Max. I was going to show it to you again, but I don't need to do that. But you can see on the green screen here, they've got the picture of Mt Fuji on there, but what they've also got is the words Mt Fuji as well. And then they've got the height of this thing. Now, a little fun fact for you guys is that I've climbed Mt Fuji, I think it's 5 times. Man, if I lost count, I thought, is it 4 or 5 times? That's terrible. They say you're an idiot if you've never climbed Mt Fuji, but you're a fool if you climb it more than once. And I've gone ahead and climbed it. You know, I've lost count of how many times I've climbed it, so I must be a bit of a fool. And when you climb Mt Fuji, it's very traditional to get a walking stick, and then as you go up past each sort of level on the mountain, there's usually a guy up there, you know, with a hut and whatnot, and he'll brand the stick with a hot piece of metal that says you made it to level 8, you made it to level 9, and then 10 being the top of the mountain. And usually those brands have the altitude you've made it to, level 8, 3,000 meters, something like that. And you can see on the tongue here, it's got the height of the mountain. And I think I'm right in saying it says 3,776 meters and 12,388 feet. I hope I've got that right. The reason why I'm not sure about that is because when I climbed Mt Fuji, every time I got to the top and they stamped it, and it did say 3,776 meters, but it said 12,295 feet, whereas here I think it says 388 feet. Now, sometimes they recalibrate the height of mountains. They use better technology and better satellites and stuff like that to measure the height of mountains. Maybe that's what they did here, and they got a more accurate reading on that. But it's odd that the meter height hasn't changed, but the feet height has changed by almost 100 feet, which is about 30 meters, which is kind of significant. So it's funny to me that the height's not what I know it to be, having climbed it 5 times and had that stamp at the top where they brand your stick with the height of the mountain, and it's a sort of badge of honor to get that. So, but it's a cool detail. It's what elevates this shoe above the run-of-the-mill, the standard kind of shoe that's out there. And they had options to do more of that, and they didn't. And the most sort of place for me where they could have done a little bit more is on the back. We've got that ACG branding, all conditions gear branding in that triangle there. And it wouldn't have taken all that much just to chop the top off the triangle and converted it into a volcano shape, which would have sort of paid homage to Mt Fuji a little bit more. It wouldn't have taken much to do that, and it's another place of branding on the shoe instead of just having it on the tongue. But that's that. They didn't do that. They just went with that red triangle there, and I think it's black writing in it. That gives you that branding. And then as you come down from there and onto the midsole, you can see the speckled midsole. I was kind of expecting what's been a trend recently with things like the Space Hippies and the Vapor Max 2020s is that recycled speckled midsole, or not branding, the mid-foot area, or the mud guards coming up and things like that. So when I saw speckled, I was expecting that, but I don't think it is that. It just looks like a speckled thing. It's not got the recycled rubber grind in it, so it's just a speckled midsole. And then if we flip them upside down, the last thing is it says all conditions gear on the very simple outsole. I was kind of surprised at how simple the outsole was. I was expecting a bit more. These don't look like all condition gear to me. They look like a pair of almost slippers that you'd wear in very limited situations. I don't think you would be climbing mountains wearing these. I don't think you'd go trail running wearing these. I don't think you'd go foraging in the forest wearing these. So I don't know where they get the all condition gear from. It looks like chilling out gear to me and just hanging out, in the evening, very light kind kind of calm days. So, but that's just my take on the shoe, and my you know, a little bit of insight into the shoe from Tokyo, Japan. Hopefully, you know, it's a different perspective than most people out there have on this shoe, because I am right here. And the last thing I'll say is about drop dates. I think I'm right in saying I read online that these guys are dropping on August the 8th, and this video I think will go up on August the 7th, but it's on my sneakers app for August the 10th, and I don't know if that's because it's just Japan, it's dropping on the 8th elsewhere, dropping the 10th here, or if you know, the websites and the social media have got it wrong. But that's the 2 dates I've seen for these guys to drop, so it's kind of a bit of a rush on this one, dropping the video on Friday, and then it's potentially the shoe is dropping on Saturday or Monday, very close to the drop date. And with that being said, things getting close. It's yep, just after midnight, so I've got to go get this video done and then tucked away, so I'll shoot off. Thank you guys for checking out the content, and you know what, I say at the end of every single one of my videos that I do this every single day, so that means that you are guaranteed to see me tomorrow.